Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein, and happy to be bringing you another episode of our Restarting the Clock series. This episode is called We Believe. Our guest today is Baron Davis, who is a member of that legendary 2007 number 8 seed Golden State Warriors team that defeated the number 1 seed Dallas Mavericks in one of the greatest upsets in NBA playoff history. In fact, it was the first time a number 8 seed defeated a number 1 seed in a 7-game series. I covered that series, and I can tell you it was electric. Baron and I had a great chat about that, as well as his history coming out of South Central LA, starring at Crossroads School, and being the number 3 pick in the 1999 NBA draft by the Charlotte Hornets. Our paths crossed again when he came home to play in LA for the Clippers from 2008 to 2011, and we shared some memories of that period of his career, as well as his memories of the great Kobe Bryant, watching Kobe as a youngster and then playing against him in the NBA. Baron is heavily involved in entrepreneurship, storytelling, production, and social justice issues. He's an inspiring person, and I'm really glad he found the time to chat with us today. So lots to cover in today's episode. I hope you enjoy it, and as always, I'll see you on the backside. Well, listen, without further ado, man, I want to welcome Baron Davis to the Legends of Sport podcast. We're right in the middle of our Restarting the Clock series. So welcome, Baron. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm good, man. We're recording this right before I'm headed to the bubble.
Oh, wow.
So this
Nice.
will be released while I'm there. So
Okay.
you're my last guest before I'm bubble bound. So
Handle your
Baron,
business, man.
you've been watching the games, man?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. What's your reaction? What are you thinking?
Man, I think, it's great basketball. I can enjoy basketball on pretty much any level.
Right.
And I think that, the bubble is it's an intimate experience, right?
Yes.
And it's an opportunity for guys who kill in practice, right? And kill in intimate intimate settings, but, don't get the kind of playing time or opportunity they would during the season.
That's an interesting perspective that I haven't heard anybody else say. That without the crowd there and all the peripheral stuff that goes along with just being an NBA player and on the road and traveling, all that family at home, it's a whole different dynamic. I mean, could you picture yourself in that position? Being away from family for that long and stuff.
I mean, absolutely. It would be kind of like a basketball dream, basketball heaven. Just to like be able to get away, bubble up, right? Not having a lot of distractions, and every day, that you got a game, or every other day, it's like, that's a cool environment, And I think that, in this new COVID, the NBA has figured it out.
Yeah, they have. Well, I'm a little bit nervous about, the getting down there, the flight and all. But once I get down there, I think I'll be in the safest environment in America.
They won't let you in anyway.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna let you close. You ain't got it like you used to.
I might turn my ass around and take go home. That's so funny. So, Baron, we got to talk about something, man. We got to talk about the huge legendary upset in 2007 because, we're right smack in the middle of the playoffs here, actually the beginning of the playoffs, the NBA bubble. The We Believe Warriors that shocked the world by beating Dallas in 2007. You guys it was really the first time a number 8 seed beat a number 1 seed in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
So can we set the table? Let me set the table a little bit. Let me know if I left anything out, okay? So the season before that, the Warriors were last in the Pacific Division. You guys didn't make the playoffs. There was an 8-player blockbuster deal with Indiana in the offseason. And all of a sudden, the 42 and 40.
No, during the middle of the season.
Oh, the middle of the season. That's right. You're right. Right. The 42 and 40 Warriors meet the 67 and 15 Mavs. Don Nelson comes back to coach the Warriors against the team that he had just been with, right, with Dallas. Where he had mentored this guy, Dirk Nowitzki. You had an interesting roster, man. You had yourself, Matt Barnes, Jason Richardson,
Had
Michael
a
Pietrus.
lot of dudes.
Yeah, Al Harrington,
A lot of
Steven
talent.
Jackson. I mean, what a group that was. What was the mindset that you guys had? You were the captain, of course. And what was the mindset going into the playoffs, meeting the number 1 seed?
Well, I said, it was myself, Steven Jackson, and Jay Rich, and Matt, pretty much. Kind of like ran it like a captain by committee. We just knew that, one, we hadn't lost in Dallas in like 3 years or something like that, or like the last 2 years.
Right. That was
going into that, we had beat Dallas at Dallas with Troy Murphy Dunleavy. And then a time I think I missed the Dallas game, Jason Richardson beat him at the buzzer. So the thing about Dallas was no one was like, everybody was up because everybody pretty much had a good game and a good matchup, right?
Yeah.
Even though Dallas was just a great team, and I think that what they ran up into is a team that they could match up with, right? And for me, it was just like, get to the bucket, get to the bucket, get to the bucket, right? Put pressure on the defense because, in the playoffs, you kind of play a little bit more with, an angst and a fear, right? This fear of losing or this fear of wasting a possession. I know now it's a little different, but back then it was all about possessions and playing a possession game. And so it was to get to the rim, get the best shot, make them play our pace. And, me going into it, I just didn't feel like there was anyone could match up against me,
Right. Well, there wasn't, obviously. Yeah. And you had a great quote that I read in GQ, and you said, quote, my job as a team leader is to get the guys to buy into the team concept until we all move and think alike. That's our challenge right now. I think of myself as a servant to my teammates, a brother, a leader, a teammate, and a mentor. So the guys obviously just kind of rode on your back, man, because I was there. I covered that whole series, and it was insane. The atmosphere.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all that.
Yeah.
Nah, it was just like, you got to look at all the big shots Steven Jackson hit, all the big plays Matt Barnes made, all the big shots that Monte Ellis. But Jason Richardson is the one that nobody, everybody forgets.
Yeah.
He had like 42 in game 3.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jason Richardson was going ham.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was lighting it up, man. He was unbelievable.
Jason Richardson was lighting it up. It was just, we played some good defense. Monte played good defense. Steven Jackson didn't get enough credit for the defense he played against Dirk. Petrus was alive in that series. Al gave us some great minutes.
Yeah.
It was really a team thing, and I think for me it was just will. You know what I mean? Like, we can beat them off of our will and our talent. You know what I mean? And we got to put ourselves in position down the stretch,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just remember the atmosphere in Oracle. I don't remember if it was even called Oracle in those days, but the atmosphere.
It was called,
Yeah. Building was crazy. And I have to add to the fact that I had the best seat in the house because I had Jessica Alba sitting behind me the entire series, which was pretty awesome. I know she's one of your good friends, right? So that was pretty cool. But, man, it was rocking in there. It was incredible. And it's a true story. I mean, obviously you know it, but the listeners out there might not know that Dirk Nowitzki got so pissed off that he pounded the wall going back to the visitors' locker room, and they left the hole there and put a We Believe T-shirt next to it, which probably is still there to this day.
I'm sure.
That was hilarious, man. Yeah. Well, listen, man, I always like to go back in time and see how my guests became who they are and where it came from. And, we did, obviously, I'd known you for a long time, but we did a lot of research. And, we know that you grew up in South Central, that you went to Crossroads, right?
Yeah.
You were amazing in high school, Gatorade Player of the Year, McDonald's All-American, first team parade All-American, a lot of accolades. You pretty heavily recruited. You decided on UCLA and be in your home, in your home city. What was that recruiting process like? Did you?
It was crazy. Because, I always say for a kid, like, you really don't know what type of decision you're going to make. Every coach is saying something, whether they're telling the truth or lying.
Right. Right.
And you really just don't know. You don't have a good feel for personality. And then you're walking blindly into a team that, may or may not like you. You know what I mean?
True.
And so it's just a lot of dynamics to, high school recruiting, things like that. People don't take into effect that these kids have a lot to decide. It's the future of their life. And not only that, you got everybody telling you, like, this is your future. This is like the biggest decision you're going to make in your life. So, take that into effect. Right. It's like, how can you make the best decision? You just want to you really, at some point, you just get to a point that you want to make a decision so people stop bothering you.
Yeah. Did you lean on somebody heavily? Was there a mentor, somebody in your life who you really just had to talk to and just, hash this out with, who really was that instrumental in making the decision?
No.
No?
It was my life. I mean, for me, I would say it was my life. So, I had a lot of people trying to sway me and push me different places. But I think that decision, me staying there, really just came down to me deciding if I want to play in front of my family or, do I want to go away to a Kansas or a Duke or Georgia Tech or somewhere like that and, just kind of grow up outside of LA. So, for me, I'm happy it all worked out. I turned out all right.
Yeah, you did turn out all right. I got to ask you, were you a Laker or Clipper fan growing up?
Laker fan, but I like the Clippers too. I always rooted for the Clippers.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew the Clippers weren't going nowhere.
Right.
So it was like, it wasn't no reason to hate on the Clippers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you can get like in a Clipper game and sit on the floor for like $7.
I love it. That's actually true.
The Laker game.
Forget about it. You can't even get close for a Laker game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you're picked third overall by Charlotte in '99, right? Played 3 years in Charlotte. Then the team moves to New Orleans. And I've never talked to anybody who actually played, in both cities for the franchise. How was that New Orleans experience for you?
I mean, it was crazy. I would say year one because, one, there was really no practice facility. Our practice facility was kind of like a convention hall, right? It was just like a lot of unorthodox kind of moving, right? You didn't know where you needed to live or where did you need to move. They decided that, I think the decision was made a little bit in June or July. So, you're unpacking and uprooting an entire franchise. So I think the first year, everybody was like just discombobulated, right? Because here are all these new faces coming in. Here are the old faces. Some of the old faces are saying like, yo, we're not going to make the transition. We're just here for a year. We're going back home, right? And on top of that, you got a team that is, you got two owners basically arguing with each other, every day, all day about who owns the team and who's doing what for the team. So it was just, weird. It was a weird situation. When we got to New Orleans, I don't think New Orleans really ever had the stability. But as far as like the community, for me, it was just, man, just get into the community, right? We're not getting a lot of fans, but, at least you can build, some heart, right? You can build some momentum by going to the neighborhoods, doing for the kids, investing in the community, because that's where your local fan base is going to come from. Those are the people you're going to see out with the Hornets jerseys. And so for us, more so, for me and a few of the teammates, not so much for the organization at the time. It was like, yo, let's get back to the community, because I think they were struggling trying to find sponsors. I don't really think that they knew what they were getting themselves into. They just kind of uprooted and left,
Yeah. So disruptive. I mean, thinking about like when Seattle left and all of a sudden, they're in Memphis. I mean, it's got to be so hard for, the long-term employees, the staff, and you guys, the players. I mean, it's just, I know business is business, but it's just got to be difficult, right? It's hard to just go out and play.
I mean, you're dealing with people's lives. Like some people were born in Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Their dream job to work for the Hornets. And now they got to go to New Orleans, which is a different city with a different language, with different rules, with, different laws, right? And it's a football town.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a
Exactly.
Saints town. So like, how are you going to win over football fans? Especially in a city that really doesn't have the economic, fortitude to support, from a sponsorship standpoint, all these professional teams. That's why they only got football.
Yeah, you're right, because people think of New Orleans, they think of football, and you guys are playing across the street from the Super Bowl. I mean, the Superdome, in the arena. Yeah. So after 4 years, you're there, and then after 4 years with the Warriors, you come back to LA. You're playing for the Clippers. I had the good fortune of doing your first photo shoot as a Clipper, if you remember that. That was super fun, right? At Staples Center. Got any memories? Well, first of all, I have to preface this to say that I know, and and probably a lot of people know, but you were the guy that passed the ball to Blake through the car sunroof, right? In the 2011 dunk contest, right? So let's get that out of the way. That was so awesome, man. That was one of the great moments of my career.
That was a good one, man. That was fun. I think, playing with the Clippers, I played, I felt like if there's any, this is almost like the last kind of program I want to turn around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I felt like we had the team, right? We just never had, it was, upper management, but we never had the right coaches, to kind of command leadership. And once the Clippers got Doc, it was like, man, this is exactly what they needed. At that point, I was gone. But, when I went to the Clippers, I was like, yo, this is going to take about 4 years because you guys are, just used to being second class citizens.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you accepted that, hey, I want to be a second class citizen and, play for the lottery. And I was like, no, we're going to be something better. You know what I mean? At least we can get some respect. I'm out to get respect from at least the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
And earn some respect. And it starts in your city, in your town. So, for us, it was just like, for me, it was like, man, first get the respect in the city of in LA. Then make LA another destination where you don't have to play for the Lakers. You can come play for the Clippers, you know what I mean? Because you're still living in the same city. So, and then I think when Blake came, and it was the year where we actually started the Lob City thing, we just start making it exciting, right? We knew that year, and I believe that's the year I got traded the year after.
Yeah.
But the Lob City time, it was like entertainment. Like, we gonna win and be competitive.
Yeah.
We're not ready yet, but we are going to be a show. And, once I saw Blake, I was like, man, perfect, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he, I can groom him to be the perfect superstar and be a force to be reckoned with, and unfortunately, I didn't get to my fourth year with the Clippers, but really it was just a lot of stuff going on with that organization that, as a man, what I mean, with my personal values and what I cherish as being a free man and a free thinker in this country. There's just a lot of things that I didn't agree with ownership, management, and how the coaches were handling it as well. So
yeah, I hear you, man. Well, I remember some great games there when you were on the team, and it was fun to see you back in LA, doing your thing, and having your friends and family there. That was also pretty cool. You touched on some really important stuff there, and you grew up in South Central during the time of the Rodney King riots in '92, and we're living through a really tough time right now. Baron, how do you feel that growing up in that era and then now, how has that influenced you as a person and what you want to do in the community?
I mean, it's just who I am. You know what I mean? Who I am, who I always wanted to be. Yeah. I think when I looked at, growing up, opportunities that I was having early as a kid to go do different things that other kids did, and just seeing how sports played a vital part in my growth, as a person, but also in my awareness and understanding of like the world is so much bigger. And as I start to grow through sports, I start traveling the world.
Yeah.
And I start seeing that people, looked and viewed and, kind of looked at me different, not just as an athlete, but just as a person. And wanting to always bring that spirit back to my neighborhood, right? Always wanting to bring that, an opportunity back to the neighborhood, because that was the same place that, I was fortunate enough to grow up in. So it was like, let's see what we can do if we can get more resources available, more opportunities to these kids.
Right. So let's talk about that, because you early in your career, you formed a production company and you've done some incredible work. I mean, the Drew documentary, No Excuse, Just Produce, was amazing to me. And I've been around the Drew League quite a bit. I thought it was very realistic, very well done. Your Crips and Bloods, Made in America. I mean, you have taken, you've taken the mantle of trying to show the truth, right? And not sugarcoat stuff. It's not the Hollywood version of the truth, right?
Not at all.
Right. So can you talk about that? Can you talk about what you're doing now, your involvement in getting the word out, in all the areas, including getting out the boat?
Yeah, I think, it's really, for me, it was like, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell both sides of the story, right? For so long.
Yeah.
There's been content, that has always been a representation of the people who are actually living it and feeling it, or an investigative report. So it's always been, an outsider's perspective, or, third or fourth party, kind of a written perspective of what we see from stereotypes. And I think for me, it was just like, man, let's just go to the people who actually, who live it. Who live it for a living. And really, for me, it was like focus on LA as a storytelling platform, because we know that LA content works, LA content, LA movies, every movie that we grew up on as a culture, those, the Fridays, the Boys in the Hoods, the Mr. Society, LA has a brand. And so for me, it's really just taking advantage of LA and growing up here and being able to tap into the local resources, but being able to paint that in a Hollywood type picture.
Yeah. Well, you're one of the most multitask guys that I know. I mean, I have a whole page here of stuff you're doing involved with, and I don't want to run it all down, but you're doing broadcasting, right? You're involved with TNT and the Players Only coverage and others. You do the Black Santa, You Wish, the No Label Productions, Baron Davis Enterprises. You just partnered with Nemo Studio, is that right? For Heroes of the Game for Kids. You're out front as a leader in entrepreneurship. What's right in front of you, like right now? What are you working on, like this minute?
Sports, lifestyle, and culture.
Okay.
So our platform, Slick, which is a content studio producing, a place where legends live on.
Right.
So, content, documentary, content, documentaries, storytelling from an insider's perspective. So, the sports, the on the court, the off the court, inside the locker room, told from the insiders themselves. And then partnering up, people like yourself who have been around and saying, like, who are some of the legends, or where are some of the stories that exist in this treasure chest of sports and sports storytelling that, really don't see the day and light. So, for Slick, it was really like, let's honor the people who have paved the way for us, right? And that's what we aim to do.
Oh, I love that. We are definitely on the same wavelength, man, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think for a million years I'd be sitting here doing a podcast like 20 years ago, but I love doing it. And I love talking to guys like you who have so much history, but now are giving back so much. And it's a wonderful thing. I was reading about your Big Power Summit, your Business Inside the Game.
Business Inside the Game, yeah.
Yeah. What is that about?
So Business Inside the Game was, me learning business through basketball and learning the inside business of the game of basketball. And, basically the summit is a platform for athletes to talk about companies they're invested in, companies to connect, right? And for us to really like tackle themes and have, experts sitting on panels talking about, everything from social justice to microeconomics, right, to education, to voting, right. And so, not just a panel about, the topic, but kind of really drilling in and bringing in different perspectives, right, of people that can actually come to a resolve. So business inside the game is like the study of business, of an industry. And what we've been doing is really working with brands and big companies to get them responsible, right, for how they treat themselves and also treat the community that supports them, right?
Yeah.
And doing that through experiential workshops and, learning opportunities and town halls. And so that's pretty much in a nutshell what business inside the game is.
That's amazing. Is there like a yearly, like an annual meeting type of thing? I mean, in a non-pandemic world. But...
Yeah. So for us, we do a kind of like our annual demo day where we feature some, startup companies, small businesses looking for financing and, kind of have that overall, sports business talk with a lot of our speakers. So throughout the year, we'll have 4 or 5 events. And then every summer annually, we'll have, kind of like a 3 or 4 day event kind of covering, all of our solutions that we figured out throughout the year.
Well, count me in, man. I'd love to be part of that. No,
I love that.
Legends of Sport would partner well with you on that. So we'll talk about it.
Good.
Yeah. So Baron, the last topic I want to touch on is something that's near and dear to both our hearts. It's the memory of our great friend Kobe Bryant. Now, it's interesting that you watched Kobe play, growing up in LA.
Yeah.
I'm sure you went to games and you watched him, and then you're playing against him, right? So you got any stories to tell, Eddie Kobe stories that you could share with us?
Yeah, I'll share one funny one. When Kobe actually got to LA, I was like the #1 high school player. And so I was fortunate enough to go hang out with him, right? So, we're hanging out, just talking basketball, happy he was here, et cetera, et cetera. And, he was like, yo, look, he showed me his room. And then when we went in his room, it was like all these tapes, dude. And I'm like, yo, what do you do, dog? He was like, man, I just sit here and watch tape. I'm like, you don't hang out? He was like, nope. I was like, you don't like go to the mall? Or like, nah, man, I'm sitting here watching these tapes. Yeah. And I was like, man, damn, that's crazy.
This dude is obsessed. Yeah.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it then. You know what I mean? Like, when you're young, and you're that young, 18, 19 years old, like he knew where he wanted to be.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And he was all like, that was his school, right? Basketball was his school. And while we were in school, having fun, going to school and playing basketball, like basketball was his school. You know what I mean? And he was trying to master the craft.
Yeah. He was such an interesting guy. Man, just this tragedy, it's never going to.
It took me out, man.
Never going to go away, man. I mean, it's just amazing how much love there is in the world for him too. He and Gigi, and it's so incredibly tragic. How do you think Kobe would be dealing with everything right now? If front and center with social justice, with getting out the vote, even the pandemic. I mean, he was such an influential voice. What do you think? How do you think he would be dealing with all this right now?
I mean, and I would say Kobe in true Mamba fashion, he's always like an oracle of, motivation, right? Without babying, you know what I mean? So,
yes.
I would just think about it as, Kobe taking it as a challenge, you know what I mean? Yeah. And, that's what he would say to everybody else is one, let's make sure, like, okay, we got to fight. You know what I mean? Like, we gonna fight Corona. Okay, cool. Let's get it going. Right. But I just think overall, just the motivation and inspiration, and just his tweets at times and his words and the things that he was doing from a content standpoint. How he was helping out the WNBA. I'm sure he would have been, a huge voice in this whole movement.
Yeah, right, for sure. I bet he would have been an owner one day of a WNBA.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right? Oh yeah, for sure.
And maybe his kid would be playing for him. So who knows? But yeah, you just summed up his legacy right there. I mean, never give up, face the challenge head on, right? And lead by example. So, which is what you're doing, by the way. And I'm so happy that we were able to chat today, Baron. Thank you.
Thank you, man. This was dope.
Yeah, and thank Chelsea, please, for putting this all together. It's great. You, man. And really, really enjoy connecting with you, man. I've always enjoyed being around you. I love your game, had so many great
Thank you, man. No, you've been great.
Yeah.
You've always been great to me, man. And even let me see some of the pictures you take during the game. I'll never forget that. Now, I'm directing and I'm taking pictures. So
there you go.
It'd be dope, man, to just work together and continue to build. And I appreciate you and everything that you bring to the game, right? And how you capture the game.
Thank you.
And yeah, man, anything you need from me, I'm here.
Well, we will be chatting, man. But I'll first I got to head to the bubble and
I know
and survive that like 2 months of work. But I'll be back. We could be in touch, and I really appreciate it, Baron. Thanks so much. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's
all right.
Stuff. And good
Thank you, boss.
Okay, bud.
Good to see you as well.
Okay.
Bye.
Wow, really interesting conversation with Baron Davis in today's episode. Thank you again to Baron and his assistant, Chelsea, for making it happen so we could chat today. Thanks also, as always, to my producer and researcher, Veronica Ahn. Thanks, everyone, for continuing to download and subscribe to our podcast. As you know, I have taken the show on the road to the NBA bubble in Orlando and will continue to bring you episodes each week in our Restarting the Clock series throughout the current NBA playoffs. A reminder that you can find us on the LA Times app and online, as well as your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Please keep following us on Instagram at Legends of Sport, Twitter at Legends_of Sport, blog legendsofsport.blog, and our TikTok and YouTube channels, Legends of Sport. You can find my photography, as always, on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode in our Restarting the Clock series from the bubble. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and wear your mask. See you guys.